I've mentioned a couple reasons already. One being, it's non-political. Two, the fact that they use this man-to-man coverage rather than the zone. And a really major point is the fact that they're able to retain so many of their attorneys for 20 or more years, or 10 or more years. They have a stable, excellent staff, tremendous amount of camaraderie. I went to law school for a year, hated it, dropped out. There wasn't an alternative like public defense in that time period when I was in law school, 1964. They didn't begin until, well, like Newark began in 67, and most places between 67 and 71 is when public defenders operated. So it wasn't an alternative, and I decided to study the legal system rather than practice in it. But the public defense system in Essex County is marked by this kind of stability, this kind of nurturing that the public defenders give to each other. Now, I mean, it's not perfect. The worst feature of being a public defender in Newark or anywhere is having to deal with your clients. Your clients lie to you. Your clients despise you because you represent their screwing up and getting arrested. And the public defender has to come up with his own redefinition of success. He can't use the idea that, oh man, I'm a great lawyer. I went into court and won today. I was able to, defeat the other defendant or the plaintiff or whatever, whichever side you're representing, and I really feel good about myself. It doesn't happen that way because 98% of your cases, or 90% of your cases, you're losing them. So what you have to do is redefine success. And yeah, success, if you gain an acquittal in the trial, wow, that's fantastic. It happens in 1% of the cases, but when it does happen, that's great. What about all those plea bargains? Well, your definition of success is, well, this guy was facing the death penalty, and I got him life. I won that case. That's winning, because given the exposure that your defendant is facing of death penalty, 25 years in jail, 30 years in jail, 15 years, I was able to come away with a 5-year sentence. That's great. And you come back and you really see this, or I saw this, day after day in the public defender's office, where somebody would come back and, oh, what a victory. He's only going away for 4 years. And all the other public defenders would come up and they'd slap him on the back and they'd have a big lunch, and it's wonderful victory. Well, meanwhile, for the defendant, he's pissed. What kind of victory for him when he's going to have to sit in Newark State Prison or in Rahway or in Trenton for 4 years of his life, and conditions in prison are horrible. And so he's mad at his attorney. He lost. His attorney may have won, but he lost. And so he's very angry. And of course, the public is thinking, this guy should have gone away for 25, and you got him 4 years, and so he's going to be out in 4 years, back on the streets. You're not a hero to the public as a public defender, to most people. They don't seem to, they seem to have forgotten the Constitution and the adversary system and one's right to an attorney and a fair trial, due process of law. I think I'm going to end now and open up for questions. I had written down this elaborate speech of 5 pages here. I probably left off about 2/3 of it, but I just tried to hit what I thought were salient, important points about public defenders and about, hopefully you have a little clearer more realistic vision of what the criminal justice system is like in New Jersey, and in particular in Essex County. Because one of the points you should realize is our system in Essex County has its own unique features, and it has its own unique kinds of procedures. And the state allows for a lot of autonomy for individual county justice systems. So the process that I explained in Essex County is not going to be that similar to what goes on in Somerset County or in Union County or in, Cape May County. There's tremendous variation. I mean, there are some rules that they have to follow. It's not, completely open, but dependent upon the sort of, the folkways of a particular county and what they call the courtroom work group, how the prosecutors work with the judges, work with the public defenders, work with the case managers, each develops their own little, modus operandi for getting through this mass of cases that they are responsible for tackling. So that's it, as they say in the cartoons.
Okay, we're gonna take questions now. Please raise your hand. I'll start off. I'm from Europe, and in Europe, especially in Germany, France, we live under the civil law system.
Right.
America, we have the common law system. So we don't have a jury, and we have a judge as the main figure who has the whole power. And the attorney and prosecutor are just like underneath him. In America, the judge is more of a kind of neutral figure, and he's just like making sure as a referee that everything goes the right way. So my question, you as an expert in law, what do you think is the more efficient system, the common law system or the civil law system?
Okay. Well, we're not really talking about civil law. What the best way, an easier way to visualize the two systems, the European German system versus the American system, which is really part of the, we're derived from the British system. So it's really, our system should be thought of as an adversarial system, just like you described, defense against prosecution, judges neutral in the middle. Let them do battle. The opposite system in Europe is often referred to as the inquisitorial system. And just like you stated, you have a judge really controlling it. The prosecutor is under him. They work together, and they're against the defendant, and they're out to get the truth. There's no fighting between sides. It's an attempt by the judge to come up with what the true findings are, the weight of the evidence, like that. So personally, I like the European system. Yeah, I think it's a more effective system for getting at the truth, which I think is really what you should be after. And I look at a history of criminal justice in this country, and the supposition that the two sides are on an equal playing field is erroneous. It's just not true. It's often tilted in a way that's very unfair, and that very often the truth does not come out. And in the Hurricane Carter book that I had written, they're having this legal battle. What does the prosecution do? The prosecution, in American law, we have a discovery process. Both sides should have access to the other side's information, okay? So you can make an intelligent decision. If you're talking to your client, you want to know the strength of the other side, because your client's going to lie to you. He's going to make up all this stuff, and you're going to look at it and not really know for sure. But if you have sworn statements from witnesses that you've obtained from the prosecutor, then you can go to your client and say, hey, look, don't BS me. This is what we're facing. I'm sorry, but this is what they have. They have an overpowering case. We're going to have to plea bargain.